Hello everyone, welcome to another video from Precision Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about Nirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, and this video is being presented by me, Dinesh. So let us see what we're going to discuss today. So we are going to understand what Nirbhar Bharat Abhiyan is, why we needed to bring this particular program, the significance of this program, the how do we get to a self-reliant India, which is Atmanirbhar India, and the details of the program and provisions across all the sectors. So let's start. So what is Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan? So let us understand what the word means in the first place. Atma means self, Nirbhar means reliant, Bharat means India, and Abhiyan means mission. So Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan on the whole means self-reliant India mission. So self-reliant India mission or ANBA is basically an umbrella program covering everything ranging from economic stimulus, legislative changes, policy modifications to potentially game-changing reforms. So, Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan is a whole package of economic stimulus, legislative changes, policy modifications, and game-changing reforms. So, certain reforms. So, all of these together basically form Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. So, the key highlights of Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan are a stimulus of 10% of our Indian GDP, which is 20 lakh crores, and there are even bold reforms in the areas of four L's, which are land, labor, law, and liquidity. So there are certain reforms in these areas, and there is also a stimulus. So let us examine what this is and what let us examine and understand what these are in the next slides. So why self-reliance? So even before the pandemic hit, our GDP was at 4.2 percentage in 2019 to 2020, which is 11-year low. And after that, COVID-19 pandemic came along, which brought with it a lockdown and then huge economic downturn and a huge fall in demand. So not only that, and during the initial days of pandemic, we had a huge requirement of critical goods like masks, PPE, and pharma raw materials. So for all these needs, previously we used to depend upon other countries, and immediately after the pandemic came, the first things to go out of stock and go into a shortage were these. So that critical requirement also pushed us towards thinking out of the box, and there was a huge disruption of supply chains around the globe. So a lot of stuff which was supposed to be coming in was not coming in, which was supposed to be going out was not going out due to the huge disruptions in the supply chains. And there came about a very heavy demand a heavy need to rise the domestic demand. So this challenge had to be met, and above all, with the precarious situation surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic, there was a necessity to boosting the morale and bolstering the operations of local manufacturers. So due to this particular aspects, there was a huge need for us to become self-reliant for at least our critical needs. So there came about the idea of self-reliance. So what is the significance of Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan? So Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan is all about turning crisis into opportunity. So like PM Modi gave a very good example about this. So in the initial days of the pandemic, we did not have any production of masks or PPE anywhere in our country. But a month into the pandemic, we came to a stage of producing about 2 lakh PPE kits and including masks, and we even were in a position to export them out of country. So this this particular way we turned a crisis into opportunity reflects our adaptability and reflects the capability of Indian industries. So so the idea of self-reliance will make globalization human centric rather than economy centric. So rather than globalization being all about economic figures and macroeconomic factors, globalization will mean will mean something to every human being, and it is going to become human centric. So, but but the message that India is trying to convey is that self reliance is not equal to self centered. So self centered is basically someone or something who only cares about their own needs. So India is trying to become self reliant, but India is not trying to become self centered, is our message. So self reliance does not mean cutting India off from the world. India believes in the welfare of the world, and India's progress is linked with the world. So we firmly believe that our progress and the world's progress both go hand in hand. And and our philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which is one family, the entire universe is one family. So this philosophy of ours is being reflected in the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. And Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan is also about being vocal for local. So, vocal for local basically means supporting and purchasing and using local products. So, being vocal for local is a key aspect in Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. So, how do we even get to the point of Atmanirbharta? How do we get to self reliance? So, there are five pillars of Atmanirbhar Bharat. So, a self reliant India stands upon these five pillars. So, in order to have a self reliant India, we need to strengthen these five pillars. These five pillars are economy, infrastructure, system, demography, and demand. So, our economy should make quantum jumps, not incremental changes. Our infrastructure is one that represents an infrastructure, one which represents modern India, should be encouraged and developed. All technology driven systems should be valued, and demography. So we need to use our demography properly, and our demography is the most vibrant demography of the world's largest democracy. And demand. So we need to fully utilize the power of demand and supply. So let us try to understand what these five pillars are mean with a very good practical example. So consider you have consider that yours the case where you have to make a dish, some dish. So you need certain ingredients. Let us call these ingredients A, ingredients B, ingredient C, ingredient D, and ingredient E. So if you use, let us say these are onions, chilies, potatoes, and tomatoes, and curry leaves. So with these, you can make this particular dish. So without these, you might not be able to make this in a proper fashion. So in a similar way, these five pillars reflect these particular ingredients. So these five pillars basically are nothing but ingredients of self-reliant India. So we can only make self-reliant India if we leverage all these five, if we leverage and if we properly use all these five ingredients. So Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan I also means that we need to be very bold about our reforms, and we need to identify the key sectors and key areas where we need to bring about these reforms. So supply chain reforms for agriculture, a rational tax system, simple and clear laws, capable human resource, strong financial system. So bold reforms, bold, strategic, and timely reforms in these particular aspects are the only things which are going to lead us towards our idea of self-reliant India. So we have identified these key sectors as places which need reforms in order to realize our dream of self-reliant India. So we will discuss all of this in greater detail in the next slides. So so let us now come into the details of the economic package. Economic package. So with earlier measures like PMGKP, which means Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan package, 1,92,800 crore rupees was given out to poor people and the needy people. And in the first tranche, so a tranche basically means portion of money. So in the first tranche, MSMEs, EPFs, Garib Kalyan, RERA, which is Real Estate Regulatory Authority, and credit. So for all in all these focus areas, 5,94,550 rupees was spent, and for the needs of farmers and migrants, 3,10,000 rupees was 3,10,000 crores was spent, and for agriculture and allied sectors, 1,50,000 crores were spent, and coal, minerals, aviation, defense, space, atomic energy. And in these sectors, along with ease of doing business, health, and education, all of these focus areas combinedly got an allocation of 48,100 crores. And RBI measures, which basically fall under monetary policy have already infused 8,01,603 crore rupees into the system. So all of this together combined totals for about 20 lakh crores, which is 10 percentage of our GDP. So this is a very huge economic package, the one that has been never seen before. So let us, so this is the status of the economic package. So let us now take a look at what changes this has brought about in the primary, secondary, and tertiary sectors, the Atma Nirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. So primary sector. So the certain amendments were to the Essential Commodities Act were made. So Essential Commodities Act basically regulates goods and products, regulates the demand and supply of goods and products in times of emergencies. So so exemptions to cereals, pulses, onions, and potatoes was made under Essential Commodities Act. So these may now be freely exported, thereby giving those farmers a better prices. And agriculture marketing reforms. So agriculture market reforms are being brought about in such a way that farmers can e-tail their produce, not retail. E-tail their produce, sell it online, and also they can sell it across states, so that all those borders have been removed, and there is no specific requirement to sell them in the APMCs. APMCs basically stand for Agricultural Produce Market Committees. So there is no specific requirement for farmers to sell these in APMCs. Rather, they can e-tail them and they can sell them across states. So that also means that they're going to get better prices. And agricultural, and there is provisions are being made for reforms for agricultural produce pricing and quality assurance. So with these reforms, the government aims to give farmers a chance at predicting the price at the time of sowing, so that they can change their cropping patterns, they can change their crops, and thereby they want to make agriculture more profitable. So even before sowing, they might predict the price and thereby making it more profitable. And an additional allocation of 40,000 crores to MGNRGA was taken up. So this 40,000 crores already adds up to the existing 60,000 crores, thereby making it a total of 1 lakh crore. So this additional 40,000 crore should support the migrants who have lost their jobs due to the lockdown, and should also help infuse liquidity into the market. And employment push using CAMPA funds. So CAMPA stands for Compensatory Afforestation Management Planning Authority, and there has been an increase in CAMPA funds, thereby increasing the employment using CAMPA funds. And One Nation, One Card, perhaps one of the most important changes. One Nation, One Card basically is revamping and improving our PDS system, so that people can avail their ration across states, not just at their local shops, not just at their local shops, but across states, anywhere in any state in country. So commercial coal mining, the laws bill was amended in March 2020 to allow commercial coal mining, which basically means that government can now auction off coal blocks to private entities. So secondary sector, which is basically manufacturing. So disallowing global tenders. So for all government projects which are under 200 crores, no foreign entity can place tenders, no foreign tenders. So no foreign entity can place tenders. So that should give local companies a competing edge over the tenders which are put up by government. And definition of MSME has been altered in such a manner that the benchmarks have basically been changed. So micro industry benchmark has now been raised from 25 lakhs to 1 crore. Small industry benchmark has now been raised from 5 crores to 10 crores, and medium industries benchmark has now been raised from 10 crores to 20 crores. So there has been a huge revamping in the MSME structure, and amendments to Companies Act 2013 was made. So CSR violations, corporate social responsibility violations, are no longer criminal offenses. Rather, they will be treated in a different manner, and defaults by one person companies or medium small micro enterprises, they any defaults by those companies now will affect lower penalty and suspension of fresh initiation of insolvency proceedings up to 1 year. So no insolvency proceedings will be taken up by the government in any of these industries for 1 year. That should give breathing room for industries during this particular crisis. And in strategic sectors, at least one enterprise will remain in public sector, but the private sector will also be allowed in other sectors. PSEs will be privatized. So basically, privatization of a lot of sectors has been proposed, and in but that in in certain strategic sectors, government will still maintain its presence. So at least one enterprise will remain in public enterprise in, but private sector will also be allowed. So Department of Investment and Public Asset Management actually identified 18 strategic sectors. So in these sectors, government will definitely maintain their presence. So some of these strategic sectors are space, telecom, oil, natural resources, etc., etc. So there are certain strategic sectors that have been identified by Department of Investment and Public Asset Management. So in these 18 strategic sectors, government will maintain its presence while also allowing private players. But in other sectors, government will strategically encourage disinvestment or sell off, which basically means selling off its holdings to private entities, and it will also open up all those sectors to private entities. So let us come to tertiary sector. So in tertiary sector, restrictions on utilization of Indian airspace will be eased so that civilian flying becomes more efficient. So there are certain no-fly zones, and those no-fly zones will be altered and removed in such a manner that uh, s- airlines can properly and in an efficient manner use the Indian airspace, thereby saving money to airlines and boosting private participation in space activities. The private sector will be allowed to use ISRO facilities and other relevant assets to improve their capacities. So space sector is also being opened up for private players, though government will still maintain its presence by means of ISRO, because space again is a strategic arena. So government should and will maintain its presence in that region. PM Vidya, which is in digital learning platform, is being promoted to curb the educational loss for students in this lockdown area, and Manodarpan, which is psychological and social evaluation and development program for kids. So these two programs have also been made a part of Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, and they have been also pushed. So National Digital Health Mission, which basically aims at digitizing every Indian's health records, and strengthening the health infrastructure from grassroots level, and bolstering our preparedness in terms of any other future epidemics or pandemics. So National Digital Health Mission, which is also a part of Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, is aiming at achieving all these targets. So what is the way forward? So most of these measures have only been aimed at the supply side. So some measures should be taken up to revive the aggregate demand. So some intervention must be made to revive the demand. So one good idea would be to provide a universal basic income or an emergency basic income. So emergency basic income is a temporary basic income wherein everybody gets paid a certain amount of cash without any restrictions as to how it should be used. And yeah, so emergency basic income for a short period may be a good option. Need for more holistic reforms to address our skill deficit in so basically developing our human capital, and grassroots level strengthening of agricultural supply chains and PDS systems. So there is a necessity for holistic reforms in these particular areas that you have discussed, and three core elements of sustainable development goals, which are economic growth, social inclusion, and environmental protection, should also be taken into consideration in future endeavors in Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. And inadequacies in economic package should be addressed, and measures to improve discretionary spending should be improved. So people will only increase their discretionary spending if they have certain disposable income. So measures to boost and improve people's income should be taken up. So there are certain shortfalls, and there are certain areas and avenues which the government can pursue in order to make a Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan an even bigger and better success. So far we have discussed what Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan is, why it is important to us, and the significance of Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan in our current times, and how we get to the goal of a self-reliant India, and the details of the packages and all other aspects in the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan program, and various highlights of legislature and various highlights of policy decisions that have been made across various sectors. So but this is not everything, and Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan is going to be a very important and very vast topic. So there are going to be more videos on this topic, and in those future topics we will delve deeper into all the packages, or we will delve deeper into the package individual tranches of money that have been given out to various sectors, various focus areas, and we will also examine various policy highlights in all those sectors and various legislative highlights in all those sectors, and we will also look at the primary criticism regarding Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan after all of that is done. So there will be future videos on this topic, and for more videos like this, and for more videos on all the other subjects, Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and please log on to precisionacademy.in for any queries regarding our institute, and you can also contact us in the given numbers. Thank you very much for joining us today. Have a very nice day ahead.